Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Cover Drive podcast. What a roller coaster week it has been to be a Pakistan cricket fan. पाकिस्तान की बहुत ही बेहतरीन एक शुरुआत हुई है T20 World Cup में, starting off by breaking the wretched streak that has been tormenting us as fans for the better part of 2 decades now. पाकिस्तान ने फाइनली वो स्ट्रीक को तोड़ दिया है और इंडिया के खिलाफ अपनी पहली जीत एक वर्ल्ड कप के फिक्सचर में अचीव कर ली है. बहुत ही बेहतरीन डिस्प्ले टीम की तरफ से. एंड देन दे फॉलोड इट अप विद अ विन अगेंस्ट न्यूजीलैंड, जिनके साथ एक अलग ही राइवलरी चल रही है हमारी, ऑब्वियसली कंसिडरिंग रीसेंट इवेंट्स. चलो वो तो एक बैंटर के सेंस में एक राइवलरी है. आई होप द न्यूजीलैंड players did not take it to heart. Obviously, fans meant no harm there. But again, the way they continued the momentum into that second game was very encouraging to see. आज के एपिसोड में हम वो पहली दो गेम्स के का एक जल्दी से एक रिकैप करेंगे एंड देन we're gonna follow up with a preview of tomorrow's game that is for people in my time zone, but today's game for people who are in Pakistan. बल्कि ये एपिसोड जब तक अपलोड होगी आई थिंक फिक्सचर को कुछ 5 से 6 घंटे रह जाएंगे, समथिंग अराउंड दैट. एक्चुअली मे बी 7 से 8 घंटे. आई माइट बी अंडर एस्टिमेटिंग इट. तो लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड. सबसे पहले हम बात करते हैं इंडिया और पाकिस्तान, द बिग क्लैश, जिसकी सबको बहुत ही एंटिसिपेशन थी. एंड एज पाकिस्तानी क्रिकेट फैंस आई फील लाइक हम बहुत इस बार एक मेजर्ड तरीके से वी वर गोइंग इनटू दिस गेम. वी weren't keeping we were going in with decent level of expectation, but at the same time we wouldn't have been surprised अगर हम लोग ये गेम हार गए होते, because we know the trend when it comes to ICC fixtures. एक mental block जो रहा है हमारे players के लिए, एक उनके approach में एक fear दिखता है हमेशा, which has always come to haunt us and has always caused us to kind of disintegrate when it comes to these India-Pakistan fixtures. But it seemed like a completely new Pakistan team on Sunday. मतलब इतना aggressive approach, like the boys seemed like they were determined to win. They had no fear of losing. उन लोगों ने एक ही ऑब्जेक्टिव के साथ आए थे कि भाई हमने आज ये स्ट्रीक तोड़नी है, हमने इंडिया को हराना है, हमने ये मैच को डोमिनेट करना है. एंड दे डिड इट फ्रॉम द गेट गो. शाहीन शाह अफरीदी, our brand new superstar. He's been on the rise for a couple of years now, but if anyone hadn't noticed him yet, they sure as hell will now, because everyone is talking about Shaheen Shah Afridi. What a beautiful opening spell by him. सबसे पहले ओवर में रोहित शर्मा को गोल्डन डक पे उड़ाना. Then after that, an absolute peach of a delivery to KL Rahul. I may have replayed that like 20 to 30 times by now. उससे भी ज़्यादा यार. मतलब इतना प्यारा स्पेल. Kind of reminds you of the 2017 spell by Mohammad Amir in the Champions Trophy. And this is what set the tone for us. The moment Shaheen got those 2 wickets, momentum was immediately on Pakistan's side. And as I had mentioned in the first episode, a lot was going to ride on that first spell by Shaheen Afridi. And it worked out just as we needed it to. From the other end, Imad Wasim offered him with some really good support, keeping the runs tight. That's what Imad Wasim does best. मगर शाहीन ने जो बॉलिंग की है, आई कैन से विद कॉन्फिडेंस दिस इज़ एवरीथिंग वी वांटेड मोहम्मद आमिर टू बी, एंड शाहीन शाह अफरीदी इज़ डूइंग इट. दिस इज़ शाहीन शाह अफरीदीज़ वर्ल्ड एंड वी आर लिविंग इन इट. एंड व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट अफरीदीज़, आई फील लाइक एक या अफरीदी का नाम ही कुछ ऐसी चीज़ है जिसमें which dominates India Pakistan's fixtures, and long may it continue. And when we talk about bowling, not only was Shaheen amazing, I already mentioned Imad. On top of that, Shadab Khan and Rauf. Shadab ने जो ऋषभ पंत का विकेट लिया, that was a very important moment in the game. हारिस रऊफ की जो डेथ बॉलिंग थी, especially to Hardik Pandya. हारिस रऊफ का I remember, and a lot of people talked about this after the game, जब उसके बारे में वो एक sort of breakdown आया था मैच के ट्रांसमिशन के दौरान. इट सेड ही रेयरली बॉल्स स्लोअर बॉल्स. मगर यार उस गेम में तो उस लगता है उसने कसम खा ली थी कि भाई मैंने स्लोअर बॉल ही डालने हैं. ऑब्वियसली द फर्स्ट 2 overs ही बॉल्ड लाइक रॉ पेस, लाइक he clicked 153 at one point, and I was like, यार ये क्या, it was fast bowling at its best, old school top tier fast bowling, just pumping it in. मज़ा आ गया था देख के. And but when he really changed it, changed it up was when Hardik Pandya came onto bat. As we all know, Hardik Pandya is a great hitter of pace, and the way Haris just took the pace off the ball and made it impossible for Hardik Pandya to get going, it was really intelligent bowling, and I couldn't be happier. I'm a huge Haris Rao fan, and to see him being used in the right way, he wasn't introduced until the new ball phase had been seen off by other bowlers. I think he came in around the 11th over, so perfect entry point for someone like him. And he delivered on the biggest possible stage, India versus Pakistan, his first ever India versus Pakistan game. He delivered, and he bowled just as the team needed him to. फील्डिंग की जहाँ तक बात की जाती है, फील्डिंग वॉज ऑन पॉइंट. बॉयज़ में जो जज्बा और जोश दिख रहा था, they were scampering to even cut the twos into ones. Like, it was a level of commitment that I have rarely seen I've never seen this level of commitment from a Pakistani cricket team in the field. Like, I could not see a single liability in that match. Like, it was so flawless. So we managed to restrict India to a relatively modest total of 152. विराट कोहली ने काफ़ी एक decent knock खेला इस मैच में, and that helped India get to that score of 151. Sorry, not 152. 152 is what our target was. And Shaheen Shah Afridi was the one who eventually got him out. Shaheen Afridi getting all of India's top three out. What a way to announce yourself on the world on the biggest stage possible. He's already been a sensation for a couple of years now, as I've mentioned, but this was just the big reveal moment, like, to put the world on notice that Shaheen Shah Afridi is here, and he's here to stay, and he is one of the best fast bowlers in the world. Then we go on to the chase, and oh my god, this was I don't even know what to say about it. The chase was simply phenomenal. Like, Pakistan, obviously everyone knows by now, it's been a couple of days. They chased it down, won it by 10 wickets. So not only did we beat India, we beat them in a World Cup, and we beat them by 10 wickets. बाबर और रिजवान ने इस पिच और कंडीशन को परफेक्ट तरीके से negotiate किया है. They waited for the ball to start coming onto the bat better before they attacked. They made sure to see out the initial stage with a very decent run rate considering the conditions. The way they were running hard on the singles and doubles, rotating the strike, getting the boundaries on the odd bad ball that was being bowled. बल्कि रिजवान तो सबसे पहले ओवर में he got a boundary and a six, which from a Pakistani team's perspective is just insane. I again just speaks leaps and bounds about the approach the boys adopted for this game. वरुण चक्रवर्ती के बारे में काफ़ी एक हाइप था about him being a mystery spinner, and बाबर और रिजवान ने जिस तरह उसको negotiate किया, that just shows you their class. Initially उन लोगों ने थोड़ा safe खेला, but then once the ball was coming onto the bat better towards the end, they just laid into him. दोनों ने छक्के मारे, चौके मारे उसकी bowling पे. It was just insane. Both of them getting their half centuries. Just brilliant performances by Babar and Rizwan. We are so blessed to have an opening pair this talented. And yeah, that was the game for Pakistan. We chased it. We chased down the target with a lot of ease, in my opinion. I didn't feel uncomfortable at any point of that run chase, which is saying something for a Pakistani run chase. So hats off to the boys for the way they played. After the game, we saw some very wholesome moments between Virat Kohli and Babar and Rizwan, as well as MS Dhoni and a couple of our players, and that's always great to see. The game was played with a very sportsman-like spirit, and it reflected in the way the players interacted after the game. जहाँ तक बात होती है पोस्ट मैच की, द matured approach by Babar Azam in his post match talk was amazing. उसने जिस तरह कहा कि ओवर एक्साइट नहीं होना है, and that's been a big issue with Pakistan. We get too caught up in the moment and let our guard down, but Babar ने clearly ये बोल दिया कि हम नहीं करने वाले हैं. And what I loved to see was that he said कि ये हमारी एक आदत है, ये हम लोग बदलने वाले, we're going to be the ones to change the culture. What else would you want from a captain? I feel like Babar is going to bring about a revolution in this cricket, in Pakistan cricket. That's going to reap us rewards for decades to come, inshallah. Moving on to game 2, Pakistan versus New Zealand. Now, this is where we were, Babar ने कह तो दिया था कि हम over excited नहीं होंगे, but obviously in the back of our heads we were a bit worried कि boys उसी intensity के साथ आएंगे या नहीं आएंगे, and boy did they come out with all guns blazing. No leniency at all. ज़रा भी इन लोगों ने easy नहीं होने दिया है. Once again, Shaheen Afridi and Imad were attacking from the get-go. Plan A didn't work as well as it did in the first game. Shaheen or Imad se wicket nahi nikla tha. But then that's where Haris Rauf came in and he worked like a charm. उसने सीधा गप्टिल को room बिल्कुल नहीं दिया. Managed to just kept pumping it in with like a lot of pace. On first ball जो उसने डाला था Yorker था, very fast Yorker, and then he changed up a pace a bit, deflected off the thigh of Guptill onto the stumps. We might say that it was a bit of luck, but honestly, the way of Harris was like targeting the right areas. I would say it was well deserved. Sometimes you need that stroke of luck in T20s. But this was the game where Haris Rauf announced himself on the world stage. If the first one was for Shaheen, this was the announcement of Haris Rauf. जिस तरह से इसने bowling की 4 wicket लिए, so happy to see this guy announcing himself on the world stage, performing on the big stage. क्योंकि इसके ऊपर जितने question marks थे मीडिया में और social media पे, I couldn't be any happier. I've been Rauf FC since day one, and it just makes me feel happy to see him performing like this. Pure fast bowling, and the type of confidence he has. I feel like इसको जो हमारा नया coaching staff है, they've given him a lot of confidence, and he's bowling the way he's introduced variations into his bowling, which we knew he was capable of. Anyone who followed his Big Bash performances in his breakout season, उसके काफ़ी variations थे, और मैंने personally ये notice किया था कि जब से वो पाकिस्तान के system में आ गया था into the national team, उसके variations काफ़ी कम हो चुके थे. So I'm really glad to see that that's coming back. Fielding was once again largely brilliant. Catches जितने भी थे सारे अच्छे लिए गए थे. फ़खर जमान को एक बहुत बड़ा shout out मिलता है इस regard में. He was flawless in his catching. There was 1 or 2 misfields, but nothing major. Again, really largely amazing fielding performance. One of the big turning points of this game, Hassan Ali, who has received a good share of criticism for his bowling in his first 2 games, but I think we need to understand कि देखो आपके अगर 3 फास्ट बॉलर हैं उनमें से एक को मार तो पड़ने वाली है, because that's the name of the game in T20s. The batsman targeted Hassan Ali, unfortunately, और उसको मार पड़ी. I think we can give him some leeway considering the amount of matches he's won for Pakistan. I'm sure he's gonna come back with a very big performance at some point in this tournament, which we're gonna remember for a long, long time. But even while his bowling was he was struggling slightly with his bowling. The run out he did for Kane Williamson, I think that was the big turning point in this match. Off his own bowling, the reaction time, the amount of focus you need to have to be that spontaneous in your reactions. It just shows how proactive the players were. Literally, he just runs towards the ball, hits the target. Kane Williamson, one of I would say, like, easily their biggest wicket, taken by an amazing direct hit. So Hassan Ali once again coming up with a big moment when the team needs it. The batting performance in this game was a bit of a let's say a bit more of a traditional Pakistani batting performance, and I mean that in a good way. Like it wasn't something overly bad. Babar is बार nahi chal sake. He was unfortunate to get bowled over, and Fakhar Zaman also struggled. He did get one really big 6 in. Hafiz came in with some insane intent. पहले ball पे ही छक्का मार दिया. मतलब यार Professor came in with some really crazy intent today, and he was unfortunate. He got caught off a brilliant catch by Devon Conway. Like, I don't know how he got to that, but hats off to him for taking that catch. And then we lost Rizwan, who played a gutsy knock. I wouldn't say that it was his best knock. I also wouldn't say it was his worst knock. He made the best of what the conditions were for. He kept the innings stable for a decent chunk. But when his wicket went, the onus really was on Shoaib Malik. And I think Shoaib Malik, I've been a huge critic of Shoaib Malik, but he stabilized the innings really well. And from the other end, Asif Ali, again, I am really sorry for all the criticism I've thrown your way, Asif. This was the ultimate match-winning innings by Asif Ali. उसने जिस तरह के छक्के उड़ाए हैं, and even after getting struck on the helmet, he comes back with another 6. Like, insane power hitting by Asif Ali. And what I really liked in this game was that जब Rizwan का wicket gira, instead of at that junction of the game, it wouldn't have been a wise choice to send Asif Ali, because I feel like he would have struggled and probably thrown his wicket away. They sent Imad Wasim instead. Imad ne thoda negotiate kiya. He didn't play the best innings, but he saw off that that phase where we were sort of struggling against the bowling. And that allowed Asif to come in at an entry point that's ideal for his type of batting. And this is what I really liked about these two games कि हमने काफ़ी एक progressive approach अपनाया है. I will get to that a bit later on in the podcast. But yeah, Asif Ali and Malik saw off the game. And that's 2-2, and Pakistan are already putting themselves in the perfect position not only to qualify for the semi-finals but also to top the group. Now, I would like to move on to some general takeaways over both the matches. As I mentioned earlier, the progressive approach we've seen. Chahe wo ho jaye batting mein, as I just mentioned about Imad getting promoted up the order, to allow Asif to come in at a more favorable stage for himself. That sort of fluidity we've rarely seen in our batting order, and it's a great change. A lot of credit to Saklan Mushtaq and the rest of the coaching staff for allowing the boys to be more flexible with their game plans. Babar's captaincy. This was a big point of contention going into the tournament. There were a lot of doubts about his captaincy, but Babar Azam has really emerged as a top leader in this tournament. जिस तरह से उसके bowling changes have been absolutely on point. अब हमने जो यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ मैचअप्स किया है दोनों गेम्स में, चाहे वो पहले गेम में जब ऋषभ पंत आया, इमीडिएटली मोहम्मद हफीज़ को भेज दिया टू play into that matchup between Hafiz and left-handers. It's very well known. Same against New Zealand. Again, जब left-hander आ गया तो हफीज़ आ गया. तो I think जिस तरह से ये matchups utilize हुए हैं, the way in the first game, जैसे शाहीन ने जब पहले 2 overs इतने अच्छे कराए, Babar did not hesitate to give him a third over. I don't think we would have seen that a few months ago. And then getting Haris Rauf in after the 10th over, something we've been asking for a long time. And then in the second game, I already mentioned, जैसे जब plan A नहीं काम किया, plan B था उनके पास. It's just been amazing the way they've been so progressive. And I'm sure we'll see more of this going forward. Matthew Hayden का definitely एक बहुत positive approach रहा है, positive impact रहा है players पे. And I think it's turned out to be a master stroke to have him in the dugout. Proper वो Aussie mentality हमें boys की तरफ से दिख भी रही है. I know we were saying it as a joke before the tournament, but we're actually seeing it now. And let's see how well we go in the next game. And this brings me to the preview for the next game between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Afghanistan, obviously a very dangerous side in UAE conditions, and that's evidenced by the record in those conditions. They have a very good win-loss record in UAE conditions. और उन लोगों ने अभी तक भी टूर्नामेंट में काफ़ी जो उनका पहला मैच था, the way they dominated that game against Scotland, just brilliant work by Afghanistan. However, I would probably say that the type of momentum Pakistan have on their side, I largely expect them to take this one home, because Pakistan की जो team है, once they start catching their momentum, it's really hard to stop them. And I think this is a different case. This isn't even a case of just momentum hitting Pakistan when the time is right. Boys की तरफ से एक proper एक plan भी दिख रहा है, एक intent दिख रहा है. They know what they're doing. They've not lucked themselves into this in any way, shape, or form. They are here. They're determined to win. They're determined to show that they are the best T20 outfit in the world. Now, whether they win the tournament or not is a whole other thing. But are they one of the favorites? 100%. I think that this game will go Pakistan's way. Obviously, it can go either way. It's cricket at the end of the day. Anything can happen. As I said, Afghanistan and the UAE are a dangerous side, especially with their spinners, Rashid, Mujib, and Nabi. Those are going to be some tricky bowlers to navigate, but I think our batting order is well equipped to handle the challenge. हमारे batsmen generally spin को बहुत अच्छा खेल लेते हैं, and I expect to see more of the same. But yeah, I think this is going to be the game where we virtually seal our place in the semi-finals. And I've been saying this on Twitter a lot. I'm not used to being this relaxed so early on in the tournament. Usually इस stage पे हम बैठ के कैलकुलेटर बाहर होता है कि भाई ये हार जाए, ये इतने से हार जाए, इनके मैच में बारिश हो जाए, etc. तो हम qualify हो जाएंगे. And here we are sitting after 2 games where we're literally, like, if you ask me, I already think we've pretty much sealed our place in the semi-finals. But at the same time, I would not want to get overconfident. It's still 2 wins. But a win tomorrow pretty much virtually seals our spot in the semi-finals. After that, the only challenge is sealing the top spot in the group but that would also depend on how other fixtures in the group go, especially the one between New Zealand and India. In terms of Pakistan's combination, I don't really foresee any changes tomorrow, and Saklan Mushtaq has said the same. The only way I see anything changing is, as I mentioned, Asif Ali had that knock on the head. So we all know that concussions are an area where teams are a lot like to play it a lot safer now, and that is for good reason. We've seen the effects concussions can have to players on the long term. So that's the only way I see any changes happening in the squad for Pakistan. Afghanistan का भी I think pretty much same ही lineup होगा जो उनकी last game में था. उनकी बैटिंग अगर आप देख लें तो ज़ज़ई और शहजाद, these are obviously two dangerous batsmen. But with the firepower we have in our bowling, especially our pace battery, I think we have a good chance for overpowering them. क्योंकि Shaheen जिस तरह की intelligent bowling कर रहा है, there's a high chance they try to play a risky shot and lose their wicket. Another way, especially for ज़ज़ई के लिए अगर आपको एक possible plan बनाना है तो I think in the power play आप मोहम्मद हफीज़ को भेज सकते हैं instead of Imad. Nothing against Imad, he's done a brilliant job so far in the World Cup, but that left hand matchup that Hafiz has is just too good to ignore at points, and he's shown it to be effective at so many points in his career, even recently. So I think it's a no-brainer to send him in the power play and try to get Zazai out as soon as possible, because once Zazai gets going, we've seen what he can do in the PSL and obviously beyond that. So yeah, that would bring me to the end of the preview for Pakistan versus Afghanistan. I foresee a very good match regardless of who wins. Pakistan or Afghanistan के अगर पिछले कुछ encounters देखें जाएं, they've been thrillers for the most part, चाहे वो Asia Cup 2018 हो जाए, World Cup 2019 हो जाए. It's always been a really good game, and I can see more of the same. I hope it's played in the same good spirit that India and Pakistan's game was played. Obviously हमारे जो 2019 में वर्ल्ड कप का फिक्सचर हुआ था उसमें क्राउड में काफ़ी इश्यूज हुए थे, but hopefully this one is played in a much better atmosphere, and the message of brotherhood is projected through this game. And that brings me to the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, always please feel free to leave your feedback in the comments section. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter at CoverDriveCrick. I will see you very soon. Take care. Allah Hafiz.